Let me get the two things here with the brushback, and both of them you're not going to like, so I'll warn you there right now. First off, listen, nobody's taking anything away from Turnbull with the Tigers. Did a great job. Nobody's taking anything away from Kluber. I love Kluber. If you've watched this show millions of times, he's one of the few players we've had on here. Two-time Cy Young Award winner. Guy gives everything he's got. I have no issues with that whatsoever, but there's too many no-hitters. All right, the Rangers last night I watched was swinging for the fences every single pitch in a 2-0 game. I mean, eventually, can you work the count? Can you put the ball in play? We now have 6 no-hitters through whatever it might be. 40 games of the season? We had back-to-back no-hitters on back-to-back days. The all-time record for no-hitters is like 8. I mean, nobody hits. The batting averages are 25 points lower than they have been ever in the history of baseball. There's no work in the count. There's no pushing the ball and putting the ball where they ain't. There's no hitting the opposite field. I mean, there's absolutely nothing. And to me, that takes away from the specialness, which is what you see here, which is a no-hitter. I mean, when there's so many of them, and I think it's a lot easier now to pitch the no-hitters the way the offense operates. I think it hurts the idea of the accomplishment from that standpoint. Now, a lot of people disagree. A lot of people say it's about the great pitching. I read some quotes from Texas last night. These pitchers are so good. What are you going to do? No, it's not. It's a lot about the offense which does not approach the situation properly. I even saw Acuna the other night, for the Braves against Diaz on a 2-0 count in the bottom of the 9th inning, down by 2 runs, with I think Freeman on deck. Swing. Now, I know he hit a game-winning home run last night, but there's too much of that undiscipline. Let's go up there. Let's try to hit the ball out of the ballpark and all those kinds of things. And it's not enough. Let's get action going, move the ball around, get people on base, put some traffic, wear the pitcher out, get him out of the strap. There's none of that, which I think makes the no-nos a much easier accomplishment. And it's listen, the numbers indicate that. You've had 6 already. 6! I mean, that's the most no-hitters at this time of the year since 1917. That's before Ruth, for crying out loud. It's too many, so that's number one. And I don't want to disparage the Wayne Mileys, the Rondones, obviously what the kid from Detroit did, obviously Kluber, Musgrove. I'm not trying to but you got to be fair. When there's so many of these, it takes away from the genius of doing it. That's the first thing. Second thing, and I know this is going to go against popular opinion, which I'm happy about. I cannot believe, I am stunned that La Russa, there's nobody in America wants to defend La Russa because they're afraid they're going to get pounded on social media? Why? Who cares? How does anybody kill the manager who told his young player in a 15-4 game in the 9th inning on Tuesday night? He told him by a sign, and he told him from the top step of the dugout. He verbalized it to him, and he told him through Joe McHugh, his third base coach, don't swing. It's 3-0. It's 15-4 in the 9th inning. When the manager or coach or whoever it might be, trainer, when he tells you not to do something, you don't do it. 15-4 in the 9th inning is an absolute no-no to swing. I don't care who is pitching for the opposition, and that's a white flag anyway, with the utility player on the mound. That's the first issue. Second issue is, why are you swinging anyway? Why are we in this situation? Who swings at an 11-run lead in the 9th inning? You think Henry Aaron would have done that? How about Paul Molitor? How about Willie Mays? I mean, the game is over. Get the heck out of there. Take a couple of pitches at least. I mean, a home run there means absolutely nothing. Nobody cares about some meaningless home run. And don't give me, as I heard on radio for 2 days, I don't want to hear about contract. The kid is a long way away from arbitration. And I certainly don't want to hear about a Twins rally in the bottom of the 9th inning. They're down by 11 runs. I heard people say, well, the game isn't over yet. You never know. What do you mean you never know? It's 15-4. The game is over. And why would you want to rile up the Twins anyway? They're dead as a doornail. They're finished. They're not making the playoffs. Why would you sit there and get them all agitated? That's the last thing you want to do. Let a sleeping dog lie. But the bottom line is, to me, there's 2 bottom lines. The first bottom line is you do not disobey. Why do you have the manager if you disobey him? You think you'd do that with Popovich? How about if some guy all of a sudden disrespected Popovich? What do you think Popovich would do? How about Belichick? What do you think Belichick would do? God forbid Wooden. How about Lombardi? And don't sit there and tell me La Russa doesn't belong in that category, because he does. Because this is one of the great managers in the history of baseball. This is not some guy who's off the street. This is a big-time manager. He's won 3 championships in both leagues. His teams are always good, and he's one of the top 5 to 7 managers, in my argument, in the history of the sport. If he tells you in that spot not to swing, you do not swing. I am flabbergasted that people have not got to that point. You don't disobey the skipper under any circumstance. Why do you have him there? You don't do that. And furthermore, I'll tell you right now, if I saw my kid do that, if I was a Little League coach, I know you're going to tell me this is pro baseball, it's a different story. If I was a Little League coach, and where sportsmanship is important, if I saw some kid in my Little League town, I don't coach Little League, but if I did, and I saw some kid swing against a hapless relief pitcher, which this kid from the Twins was, in the seventh inning with a double-digit lead on 3-0 to hit a home run to pad his stats so he can run around the bases and see mommy and daddy at home plate, he wouldn't be playing for me the next day. I'd make my point. You don't do that. That is not the way who does this? An 11-run lead in the ninth inning and 3-0 with some guy and you swing when you're told not to? That is ridiculous. And I am amazed the amount of people, whether they be whether they be players on the White Sox, and of course whether they be media guys who are centered on La Russa's approach to this with this media scenario. When he was asked the question in his postgame, and thank God he was honest, and said, yeah, that's a no-no. That's bad sportsmanship. This will be dealt with. You shouldn't be swinging at 3-0. That's a bad job. Clueless, whatever the word he may have used. You know what? Good, he's honest. He's 100% honest. And he had no problem with the Twins the next day, who threw at his legs behind him, which was very, very appropriate under the circumstances because the Twins were ticked off. Bedelli was ticked off, and there's always another side to this. The Twins were ticked off. And why get them fired up? It makes no sense. They're dead. Leave them alone. And don't sit there and tell me La Russa can't manage because there are 11 games or 10 games over 500. The White Sox, who have done nothing for years, they've been a disaster. Fired managers, whether it's Ventura, Renneria, embarrassed themselves at the end of last year, lost their last 7 or 8 ball games, fell apart, ended up as the 7th seed and collapsed against the A's. La Russa shows up, he loses his left fielder, he loses his center fielder for the year, and he's got him in first place 10 games over 500. Plus, Abreu hasn't played recently. And he's got him in first place, 10 games over 500. He's 4-2 against Minnesota. You don't think he can manage? What, are you kidding me? It's one of the all-time greats here. And I give him credit. You know what? I gave him the sign 3-0, you don't swing. I apologize to the Twins. You know what? He's right. Good for him. I don't know anybody who's played baseball organizationally anywhere in this country. Little League, Babe Ruth League, AAU tournaments, college baseball, the minor leagues, and I've been following baseball for 50-something years. I don't know anybody who would swing against a hapless pitcher on 3-0. 0-2, I can live with it. I don't like it, but I can live with it. I can live with that. 3-0 with an 11-run lead in the ninth inning, that I can't live with. Disobeying the manager to boot. My God. Try doing that with Lombardi. And don't sit there and tell me who's he. Greatest coach in the history of professional sport. Don't sit there and tell me who's he. You 19-year-olds, including my son, who's been killing me about this, Colin Russo, go look up Lombardi. See if you can pull that off. 9-1 in the playoffs, 5 championships, first 2 Super Bowls. The greatest coach in the history of professional sport. You think if you did that to Lombardi, what do you think he'd do? And don't tell me it's the 1960s. Coaching is coaching. Managing is managing. When the manager tells you to do something, you do it. Especially a guy of his ilk. Okay, Alanna's with us. She's going to fight me off. Alanna, take it away. Go ahead. Let me hear.
What a segue. Okay, I can understand what you're saying about taking the sign and disobeying Tony La Russa. Here's my problem with what happened with this, and I think 99% of the players that are in today's game in 2021 would agree with me on this. What I have a problem with Tony La Russa doing is the fact that he buried his own player publicly. The other day when Gene Segura and Joe Girardi had an issue, Joe Girardi wouldn't talk about it. They kept it in the clubhouse. When Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil had an issue, they wouldn't talk about it. They joked about it. Rat versus raccoon. They kept it in the clubhouse. You want to say that you're disrespecting the game and disrespecting the opponent? Why are you disrespecting your own player? Not just Yermin Mercedes, but you're also disrespecting Lance Lynn by saying Lance has a locker, I have an office. What does that tell me about the way Tony La Russa feels about his own players in today's game? Yes, is he a Hall of Fame manager? Obviously, got inducted in 2014. He has also managed 11 Hall of Famers. I am not discrediting Tony La Russa's resume. What I'm saying is, have you ever seen the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? How to lose a clubhouse and a locker room in 10 minutes is exactly what is happening here. And for him to say that he's okay with the Twins throwing at his own player publicly, I have an issue with that. This is like Stanley in the movie Friday, which I know, Chris, is your favorite movie of all time. This is like Stanley telling Smokey and Craig to stay off of his lawn. This is old man yelling at clouds. I have a problem with Tony La Russa acting like he's still managing guys in 1979. If you don't want him swinging on a 3-0 count, which that's a whole other issue, I understand that, then don't put a position player on the mound. Get a reliever out there. These guys are trained to hit baseballs, and if you're going to have to throw a meatball down the middle of the plate...
It's not his fault. No, Alanna, don't blame La Russa on a position player. He didn't put the position player on the mound, Badelli did. Don't blame him on that.
I understand, but I'm not blaming him on putting...
You want to eliminate the positional players, do a mercy rule. Game's over after 7 innings with a 10-run lead. If that's how we... If the positional player is the argument, then stop the game after 7 innings with a 10-run lead.
You can't tell these guys not to swing when they're professional hitters and they're going to see it. You know how hard it is to hit a home run in this game, even to make contact, let alone on a pitch at that velocity that has no power coming out of the pitcher's hand? To be able to hit a home run, yes, I understand he should have listened to his manager and take there on a 3-0 count. But what I do have a problem with is La Russa burying his own players, not just Yermin Mercedes, but burying his own players publicly in this situation and saying that he.
Don't be so. The players are so sensitive. I mean, gee whiz, it buried him. He said it was a mistake. The kid should know better, and he's right. He's 100% right.
Lance Lynn has a locker. Lance Lynn has a locker, and I have an office. What does that say? What does that say? Lance Lynn has a locker, and I have an office.
Well, why didn't Lynn? Well, if Lynn is so worried about the manager, why didn't Lynn go to the manager's office and explain to him what he had a problem with instead of telling the media? Why didn't Lynn?
I feel like
Lynn started it. Why didn't Lynn go to the manager's office quietly without going to the media and say, hey, you know, Skip, I don't like the way you handled it with the player?
Maybe Lance Lynn doesn't feel like he can talk to his manager. Maybe Lance Lynn doesn't feel like he can talk to his manager. Maybe nobody in that clubhouse feels that they can talk to their manager because they know where he stands in terms of supporting their players.
What is their record?
I'm not saying he's not a good manager.
Are they the best? They have the best record in baseball. They have the best record in baseball.
They have played well. My point is, they're good. They lost their left fielder, they lost their center fielder, but he's gonna lose that entire clubhouse. And you can't tell me that this isn't going to affect the players and this isn't going to affect the way that they feel about him and feel the way that they're gonna play for him. I disagree.
You know what? The owner loves them, so if it affects the players, that's their own fault. They're professionals, go out there and play. Alanna, when the manager tells you not to do something, if our boss tells us not to do something and we defy him twice, what do you think happens to us? We're dead. Why should it be any different?
I am not disagreeing with you on.
Well, that's the whole premise
Mercedes
of it.
Not listen. No, the whole premise is the way that Tony La Russa handled the situation. I disagree with the way he handled the situation.
Alanna, if Mercedes doesn't swing, there is no situation. He started it. He disobeyed the skipper. He went on the top steps and verbally said, "Don't swing," and he swung.
The other day, when Joe Girardi and Gene Segura had the incident, you praised Joe Girardi because you liked the way that he handled that situation. You did not like the way Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil said it was a rat or raccoon. Talk about it. This is New York. This is the big market. We have to discuss it. You can't like the way that Girardi handled the situation with Segura, but then praise the way that La Russa handled the situation with Mercedes and Lance Lynn. You and I are on the same page about the take sign and swinging on a 3-0 count. What we're not on the same page with is the way that La Russa buried his own player and applauded the opposition for throwing at his player, albeit at the legs, albeit behind him. You're going to lose that clubhouse. I'm telling you, I've been in a lot of clubhouses in the last 15 seasons. You're going to lose that clubhouse. I don't care that you're a Hall of Fame manager.
Disagree.
I don't care that you've managed 11 Hall of Famers.
Completely.
That's fine.
He is an all-time great manager. Alanna, he's not losing that clubhouse.